everybody. The Great Lakes are being used to make huge amounts of money for the New York State Power Authority. Now, to make it very simple for all you brighter than the rest of the bulbs in the packs out there, to make it real simple for everybody, the more water that you store behind the dam when you're generating electricity with a giant hydroelectric dam installation, the more water that you hold behind the dam, the more money that you can convert into your bank account by generating the profits from sending all that ponded back, stored up water, by sending all that stored up water exclusively through the turbines. Send all that water to the generator houses. Don't let the river just, drain out naturally. Oh, God, don't do that. Build you a great, big, huge, giant dam and turn all that water into horsepower and into that Federal Reserve note quantitative easing. What do they call it? Oh, helicopter money. Yeah, let's turn all that stored up water into helicopter money so that we can make great big campaign donations to all the important politicians in the state of New York. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's really not all that complicated. You fill up the cup. You fill up the cup with as much water and coffee as you can. And you just be careful not to waste a drop. Make sure that it all goes through the turbines and is converted into horsepower, water power for the operation of the turbines. Ladies and gentlemen, the Great Lakes, the largest lakes in North America, are being used for giant cash cows. In famous words of an old colleague of mine from Lake George, New York, they've turned the Great Lakes into mill ponds. They're mill ponds exactly like Lake George, and they're flushing them into the St. Lawrence River like Lake George is used to flush the Lachute River, so that they can flush Ticonderoga's sewage and mill waste and all their slop and crap there into the front of Fort Ticonderoga. My dad used to call it a giant toilet. That's where I came up with that. They've made the Great Lakes into a giant toilet reservoir, and they flush all that water, which they store up. They got to store it up behind the dam there to increase the reservoir pool or the water resources behind the dam so that they can convert that into campaign donations for the filthy rich. You can't make this stuff up. But I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, that's how simple it gets. It's all about the up and down and up and down and up and down of the water to, convert it into that quantitative easing, helicopter bills of credit, fiat Federal Reserve note, imagineered money for the ultra-rich to invest on Wall Street and buy the politicians with the campaign donations. It doesn't we're not talking rocket science here. It's the up and down and up and down and up and down water that's destroying all the lakefront property and all the lakefront docks and boathouses, and the marinas are all getting wiped out from what I understand on the Great Lakes because of the high water and the wind and ice. The ice and the snow is destroying more property than anything else because of the very high water caused by the people that have built those giant dams, like the dam there, the dam of Ticonderoga, New York. Dam 230 to be specific, which I've written extensively about. You can find all the information you want to down below about how they use these dam systems to make the campaign contributions just as big as they can, so that the New York State Power Authority can run the empire with lots of juice. You know, lots of power. They got, boy, that New York State Power Authority's just got a lot of power with all that quantitative easing helicopter money they make from the ponded backwater. From the mill ponds, the Great Lake mill ponds there. The mill ponds just like Lake George, New York, ladies and gentlemen. So to my friends in upstate New York there, at Lake George, Roger Smith and David Wick, the Lake George Park Commission, and the Lake George Association, you know, the Lake George Association there, and the fund for Lake George, all this money to clean up the poop and the pee-pee. You see, Lake George, New York's full of poop and pee-pee. They try to call it nitrates and phosphates, but what it is all the septic tanks, all the brown fields around the lake are leaking into the lake. In other words, the septic tanks are taking a leak into Lake George, turning Lake George green, according to the Glens Falls Post-Star and the Troy Record and the Albany Times-Union and ABC News and the Lake George Mirror. Let's not forget about the Adirondack Almanac and all the other tree-hugging, you know, Green New Deal. The Green New Deal is the Green New Lake George. There's your Green New Deal, the Green New Lake George, from all the brown fields and the up and down waters of Flushing Lake George, New York, like a mill pond, like the Great Lakes, to generate a lot of green. You know, they generate lots of green from storing up that water behind the dam. Now, I don't know how much simpler it gets, but I think this video has described it pretty accurately. It's a great big mill pond. It's a mill pond story, Ellen Apperson Brown. It's a mill pond story. Christy Miller, she's the secretary, the main secretary for the Warren County Commissioners, the Warren County Supervisors there in Queensbury, Glens Falls, New York. The up and down waters of the mill pond. And anybody's got any trouble understanding that, well, maybe they can get a hold of Mickey Luce. Mickey Luce lives there in Lake George Village. Mickey Luce can explain this to you. And, you know, if Mr. Stephen Bryant was still alive, or Steve Miller, excuse me, and Jack Bryant, he was a park ranger on Lake George with Frank Leon-Bruno. Frank Leon-Bruno explained the saga of the destruction of the islands and the saga of the destruction of the boathouses and the docks, the marinas on Lake George. From the, you guessed it, up and down waters of the giant mill pond. Now, for all you people that need the information about what I'm talking about in this video, the links and the information are posted below. And as a closing note, the year after year destruction of the Witham Family Marina at Harris Bay, well, it was caused by the up and down ice and snow from the exploitation of the ponded back water from the dam at the Lachute River. Dam number 230 to be exact. I think I'll leave it right there, folks, and enjoy all the information and links below. Hasta la vista, God bless, and you betcha we'll be coming back.